My name is Jason, and this is Just Watches. Okay, today we have a watch I've wanted to own for a long time. This is the Oris Aquis Date. Now, I've always loved how this watch looks, so I was excited to pick this one up and be able to spend some time with it and make a review. However, before we get to that review, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much. For price and availability, as of the recording of this video, I'm not sure if this watch is discontinued and being replaced by only the Oris version that uses the in-house caliber 400, or if they're planning to make more and it's just out of stock. Either way, the MSRP of this Sellita based movement version is $2,600 US. The case is 41.5 millimeters in diameter, 48 millimeters lug to lug. The watch is just shy of 13 millimeters thick and then has about a 24 millimeter lug width opening, but that is a proprietary lug, so you're only going to be able to use Oris or otherwise compatible bracelets and aftermarket straps with this one. Now, the case itself is a very interesting bowl shape, ever so slightly wider at the bottom of the mid case. A very industrial looking crown guard is screwed into the case of the watch on the crown side with hex style screws. These are also present on the lugs and give a very distinct look to the watch from that side. The lugs and crown guards are high polish on top, and that high polish on the lugs extends all the way into the outer links of the bracelet. Now, the chunky bezel sits atop the case and is also high polish. This case is on one hand very flashy with many elements of high polish, but also very toolish with the massive screwed in crown guards. Now, despite that 41.5 millimeter size, the watch wears a bit closer to 40 millimeters thanks to that integrated style bracelet. That said, it also has a ton of wrist presence. This is a very unique case and has a very distinct feel. Speaking of that integrated bracelet, it starts at around 24 millimeters before tapering all the way down to 16 and then jumping back up to 18 millimeters at the clasp. The articulation against the back of the watch and between the links is good as it gets. You can even stack these links on top of each other. This translates into a super comfortable bracelet that just melts onto the wrist. The links themselves are nicely finished with high polish on the outer links and then a brushed finish on the middle link. The middle link even rises to a point in the middle, sort of gabled, which helps them catch light on either side. Now, the twin trigger deployment reveals a milled scissor, and then the clasp does have 3 micro positions of sizing, and then you can size the bracelet itself with screwed links. Now, this clasp is super refined. It's mostly brushed and then deeply etched with Oris. The edges are chamfered and brought to a high polish, and there's almost zero gap between the closed clasp and the bracelet links, which makes it look incredibly clean. Now, thankfully, this bracelet is fantastic because, again, changing it will require removing those hex screws, and you can't use just any aftermarket strap for this watch. The screw-in case back is going to help provide a whopping 300 meters of water resistance. There is information about the watch around the edge of the case back and a display window revealing the movement, which is essentially based on an SW200, and then we have a custom Oris rotor. I always appreciated a display case back, and the red rotor is a nice touch, adding some color to the other components of the movement. So speaking of that movement, is technically the Oris 733. From what I understand, is basically a slightly modified SW200-1. It's a hacking, hand-winding 28,800 vibration per hour movement with a power reserve of 41 hours and a stated accuracy of -12 to +7 seconds per day per Oris. It also features a quick set date. Now, on wrist, mine has been keeping time within spec, running around 6 seconds a day over the course of about 2 weeks. The 7mm screw down crown has giant knurling and very good finishing. It's also signed with Oris. Now, in combination with these massive crown guards, the crown has a very industrial look, which I love. The threading and unthreading action is very smooth, and operating this watch via this massive crown is a breeze. The sapphire crystal is ever so slightly domed. Now, they say it's treated with anti-reflective coating, but the crystal catches a ton of reflections. It is incredibly difficult to film or photograph. I would love to see them use much better anti-reflective coating or just switch to a flat crystal. This is actually one of the few weak points on this watch. The 120 click unidirectional bezel has large knurling. The action is extremely tactile and consistent, and everything lines up perfectly. The insert is ceramic and has a large triangle, 12, dashes for the first 15 minutes, and then Arabic numerals for the remaining 10-minute increments and dashes for the 5s. All of the markings are deeply inset in white, contrasting nicely with the deep black ceramic. The insert does reflect quite a bit of light and is quite flashy. The dial on this watch is an extremely deep blue sunburst that can appear black or even violet depending on the lighting conditions. There are dashes for each of the minutes with applied indices for each of the hours. These indices are high polish and are actually faceted in a way that they catch light from 3 different angles across the top. It's a very subtle detail but extremely striking in person. They are also filled with Lume. We have Oris at 12 and a ton of text at 6 including Aquis, pressure resistant, and the depth rating in both bar and meters. The date resides at 6, preserving symmetry. The date wheel is black, which helps it blend into the background a bit. This dial is super legible, and between the interesting indices and the range of blacks and blues the dial takes on, it's also quite dynamic. Now, the handset on this watch is very well executed. The hour and minute hands are actually ever so slightly curved, increasing the range of angles that they will reflect light off their high polish finish. They're also both filled with Lume. The minute hand reaches all the way to the dashes around the edge of the dial. The second hand is also high polish and a lollipop style with the Lume circle towards the tip and a counterbalance. These hands catch light nicely, and between the hands and many other aspects of the watch make this watch overall quite blingy. The Lume on this watch is blue superluminova and is responsive, bright, and long-lasting. There is ample Lume on the hands and indices, and everything is evenly applied. So here is the watch on my 6 3/4 inch wrist. While the watch does wear smaller than its specs in some ways, it also has a ton of presence, especially when viewed from the side. It's also quite flashy, in large part due to the high polish outer links, which adds to the overall presence of the watch. So pros and cons, starting with the pros. First, this bracelet is incredibly comfortable. I've heard great things about the Aquis bracelet, and I'm happy to report it is indeed excellent. This is really important since you can't easily switch to an aftermarket bracelet or strap due to the proprietary system that Oris uses on this watch. Second, the finishing on the hands and indices is excellent. It really doesn't come across in pictures or video, but the multiple angles of the indices and the gentle curving of the hands means they catch light fantastically. Third, the dial is excellent on this one, ranging in color from almost black to blue to violet, and with the combination of that black bezel, it just looks fantastic. Last, I love these massive crown guards. They give a very unique look to the watch and add a ton of character. As for cons, I would love to see a flat crystal used, or maybe just better anti-reflective coating, as this domed sapphire picks up a ton of reflections. You may have noticed that in most of my shots there are reflections on the crystal of the watch. It's less pronounced when viewing the watch in person, but even then it still does catch quite a few reflections, which distracts from the fantastic dial hands and indices. Second, while I got a great fit on the bracelet and the clasp is very elegant, I'd love a quick adjust clasp on this watch. From what I understand, the new in-house Caliber 400 version of this watch has the quick adjust clasp, which is a great addition. Last, I don't love the bezel action. Yes, it's aligned perfectly, and yes, it's very consistent, but it doesn't feel quite as refined as I think it should at this price point. As for comps, at MSRP, this watch is in a weird spot at $2,400. Now, I paid less than half for this one used, but at comparable MSRP, you could consider a Longines HydroQuest or a Tag Aqua Racer. And then for more, you're over halfway towards the Tudor Black Bay range, and if you're open to picking one up used, those also sell at quite a discount. For less, I would definitely consider a diver from Christopher Ward. So there you have it, the Oris Aquis date. What do you think about this watch? Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you're enjoying the contents of this channel, I invite you to subscribe, and if you enjoyed the contents of this individual video, please give it a thumbs up. That's all for this time. My name is Jason, and you have been watching Just Watches.